for you as a gym owner and even a fitness enthusiast, why do you think it's so important for families to share the love of fitness together, or at the very least, like, spend that time doing it together? Mm-hmm. What does that do for them from what you've seen?
Yeah, well, our sense of inclusion, or our concept, I guess, of inclusion in the gym is such a high priority. We see or hear it so many times where people are like, yeah, my husband will go work out, and then when he gets home, he looks after the kids, and then I go for a workout if I have time or whatever. So the whole concept came from, why not make a place that everybody can do what they want to do together? And whether that means, mom goes and does kickboxing and dad comes and lifts weights, or dad goes and does jujitsu and mom comes and does HIIT class, or whatever. And it doesn't matter what age your child is, you can bring them. And often I get emails or texts from people who are like, so if I come to the 9:30 class, can I bring my kids? I'm like, you can always bring your kids.
Awesome.
And they're like, well, what do your kids do? And unless you have kids, and I think that's what differs from our gym and the concept of our gym to other gyms maybe that say they're family friendly, mm-hmm. is if you don't have kids or haven't gone through the chaos of children, you don't know what you need to be able to accommodate a workout and have the kids be happy, mm-hmm. right? So we have a total kids play area. Of course, it's changed a little bit in the time that we're living in right now. So we've had to revise it. And that's what we did over our shutdown time, is we revised it to something that we could clean more easily, mm-hmm. but it's still there. So we have a little climbing wall that's easy to wipe down, and mm-hmm. we have tables for snacks, and, the kids have such a blast just making friends there too. And so when kids say, Mom, are we going to the gym today? How can mom say no?
Yeah.
Right. So if you make it a place that's fun and exciting and positive, the kids want to be there. And if your kids want to be there, then sorry, you're stuck with going to the gym.
Yeah, it becomes a home away from home.
It does.
Right. And then so many of the kids, in a sense, become that motivational catalyst for the parents to be like, okay, all right. Like, in a sense, the kids are pushing them to go.
Totally.
Right? Because they know they're going to meet so-and-so's
yeah,
kid.
Their
and
friends
that's
are
their
there.
friend now. And they're creating that sense of community together, right?
Yeah. And I think right now, especially in North America, that whole "it takes a village" motto has gone away. And I don't know what has created that, whether it's just because everybody's so busy or we're all focused on ourselves or what it is. But as soon as you walk into Little Sweatshop, you know that if your kid is crying and you're not close, this is going to make me cry, sorry.
It's okay, it's okay.
If you're not close and your kid's crying, the closest adults will go and pick your kid up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They're an extension of parents for them.
Exactly. Like, it is truly a village.
I love that. And that's the most important part, I find, Shelley, is recognizing that there's so much love and care for those kids, even when they're not actually your kid.
Oh, totally.
But it's like, hey, like, you notice there's something to correct there, and it's like, well, we're going to do that.
Exactly.
Because we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Like, if anything happens, like we're dealing with in this world right now, are we going to close our doors? Mm-hmm. Well, okay, might be a decision we have to make, but once we get the opportunity to open, we're back up. That's right. Because there's so many people here who look after one another.
That's right.
And who are, staying clean in the process and being there. And what was something you noticed with, like, even like a really like successful case study from the gym, or like a person or a testimonial where you got to see within your own eyes how much physical and mental change, whether it was like with their kid or a child or a mother or father? Is there anyone in mind that you can share, like, how much their life has just changed just from being immersed in the village that you've been? For sure.
Actually, building. The first person that comes to mind is a wonderful, amazing friend named Jody. She started actually in my garage. And she would bring her little girl, Katie, to our house with her, and they would play. But she was a helicopter mom. So she was a mom that always had to be able to, normally would stand over her child and, make sure they were safe and pick them up at the first first tier or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like
a lot of protection.
Very, very, very concerned mom, right? And probably within a week of training, just realizing the amount of trust that she had in the fact that it was a village and that somebody else could help. If she was in the middle of a set doing something and Katie needed something, somebody else could help. And she just learned to just embrace that and let go of that sense of needing control. And Jody is, she is one of the most inspiring people at the gym. Honestly, she is there 7 days a week. Now her kids are a little bit older, so she often doesn't bring them to the gym, but she comes 7 days a week. She is just for her confidence and for her, and she deals with a lot of stress and anxiety in her life. I don't think she has an easy life all the time. Mm-hmm. And she's an incredible, inspiring person. Just great attitude. Every day she's there. And for sure, if she misses a day, it would ruin her day.
Yeah,
right? Like
it's a big priority. It's up there. It needs to happen.
It's what she
in order
looks
for everything
forward
else
to
function. Right?
For sure. Like she's, and I remember her saying that even to her daughter when they were like, when they very first started, and she would say, you know what, Katie, mom's a happier mom if you can let her work out.
Yeah,
right?
I love that. Yeah, exactly. Like it just needs to happen.
It does. It makes us more patient. It makes us more tolerant. It makes the endorphins that happen when we exercise and are surrounded by people who support us and love us. It's incredible.
Yeah. I always like to say it's very easy to say that we are always craving me time, but where else do you feel like you get that, where you're in your own thoughts and you're challenging yourself and you're sweating? When you have that me time mixed in with something that's benefiting you and making you add years to your life.
That's right.
Right? When you're doing it in an environment, especially at LSS, where like you're getting coached how to do it properly.
Right.
Right. And I know that initially when we spoke earlier, you told me that the focus is heavily on mothers.
Yeah.
And you know, from your perspective as a coach and as a trainer, what are some principles you follow to help mothers, cope with feeling physically stronger and even mentally stronger, especially when I find mothers with newborn babies become very extremely attached for, the rest of their life with that kid naturally, but especially for those first few years, almost to the point where Shelley, I've experienced this closely with family members who, cousins, they're getting recently pregnant and they're having their newborns. And they would tell me that they're like, Kenny, like I know I have a problem, but it's because I love my kid so much, and even just leaving him or her for like 5 minutes, it scares me.
Right.
So that naturally comes with, okay, they know that they want to reshape their body. They start saying they want to go back to the gym, but they're afraid of leaving their kid.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I love how, your gym automatically, it's like, hey, bring your child.
Absolutely. Right now, especially, like we could kind of go through these waves, and I don't know if it's something in the water or what it is, but we go through these waves at Little Sweatshop where all of a sudden we'll have like 5 newborn babies, and then
no way
they turn into toddlers, they become the big kids, and then we'll have 5 newborn babies again.
They all come in.
It's like little waves of them. So right now we've we have a 9:30 class, and predominantly that is the mom's class. If you're not a mom, that's fine. If you're a dad, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Anybody can come, but that is the most convenient time for moms, because if you have older children, you've dropped them off at school, grab coffee and come on over, right? And then if you've got little ones, so right now, I bet you we have on most days a little row of 5 car seats with the babies in them.
That's awesome.
When they're really little. And then once they get old enough to understand that they can squawk and let mom know that they are not happy on their car seat anymore, then we have it's like a little progression. So then they go to the exerciser or the swings, and then they progress to the high chairs, and then they progress to the play area.
That's awesome.
So once they're in the play area, we have gates up all over the place. We shut the doors to the bathrooms and stuff. So the kids are safe and they're right beside where we are. So that separation thing that you're speaking of, Kenny, it's we can get around that, because you can always see your child. You can hear them. You can see them interacting. If there's an issue happening, like I said, one of the parents, doesn't matter if it's your child or not, one of the parents will jump in, right? And it's just taking care of one another. And sure, sometimes kids are fussy or have off days and your workout sucks, but you still got to work out.
Yeah. You still have to get it done.
And there's days where when we had the babies and before we started the gym, where I try to work out in the basement, and it's so hard to work out when you have a baby, or a toddler is even worse because they're under you, they're around you, they're crying, the laundry needs to be done. It's really hard sometimes to be motivated and stay at home and work out. And that's why we created this space that was just, it is like a second home. So your child is fully entertained. There are many days where I'll walk around with a baby carrier on and I'll have a baby on the back, a baby on the front while I'm coaching.
No way. Wow.
Just so mom can work out.
Love it.
And, you know, they'll fall asleep and I'll just keep walking around with them. And they get used, if you start early when the babies are, 8 weeks old, the babies get used to the dropping barbells. They get used to the sounds of kicking and punching.
Adapt, yeah.
They don't even wake up. It's amazing.
That's
it's
awesome.
So cool.
Yeah, wow. That's pretty special. And I know there's, in a sense, I see it a lot, even whether you want to relate it to the idea of mothers and newborn babies and dealing with that, or even other people who can't help but compare their progress to when it was years ago when they feel like they peaked, or compare themselves to how they even did last month, and then a few weeks go by, they collect some rest and they go back and they want to pick up off of where they were at that time.
Right.
How do you feel like as a coach or an owner of your gym, how do you deal with that based off of just letting them know that, hey, we need to start a clean slate, and just letting them understand that? Because I know personally as a trainer, there's been times where I've struggled to just let someone know that, hey, we gotta start back to ground zero.
Right. Yeah.
And this is for the coaches out there listening and educating someone, or even just someone listening that's been like, yeah, I'm in that position.
Totally.
And I do need to start fresh, or I'm going to hurt myself.
Right. People do need to let go of ego. People need to understand that, so many things change when you're going through, pregnancy. I mean, for myself, having twins, I was over 200 pounds at the end.
Wow.
Right. So I put on over 70 pounds and I still worked out all the way through, all the way to the very end, had the twins, C-section. And so I think it was such a blessing going through it in that way. For one, twins, because that's considered a, high risk pregnancy. So of course my doctor has to be cautious, telling me not to lift anything over 10 pounds. Finally, on the last visit at 38 weeks, he's like, Shelley, I know you've been working out all along, right? I'm like, what? How'd you know?
It's like, Shelley, what are you not telling me?
But so I personally have taken several courses on postpartum, pregnancy and postpartum. And a few of my other coaches also, most of them are moms, especially the ones that coach during the day. A lot of them are moms, so they've been through that whole process as well. And we really focus on, so during pregnancy, after about 12 weeks, when the body starts changing, the ligaments start loosening up, the abdomen starts, expanding, we stop doing certain movements. And everybody, all the coaches know to coach differently. Yeah. And there are times where if there's a big chunk of women that are pregnant or postpartum at the gym, like right now, we'll have our normal workout written up on the board, and then we'll have a separate, I call it Team YAP. Team, you are pregnant or you are postpartum. Yeah. And I'll do the same workout, but I'll modify the movements to make them appropriate.
That's fair.
So I don't want somebody who's 25 weeks, 30 weeks pregnant holding a plank. Like, that makes no sense, right? Yeah. And I think I always try to explain it to them, like, you know what, if anything ever went wrong, we would never want to look back and say, I wish we would have done something different. And if you can explain it to them like that, I'm like, it's only 40 weeks. It's not a big deal. Yeah. It's not. And then after that, we slowly start to build things back, but very slowly. And I think because of the environment we've created, there's no egos, there's no me versus you, right? Everybody's very understanding of the fact that you do have to be gentle on yourself. Yeah. If you're coming back from an injury or even like post-lockdown, after COVID, the lockdown, right? I was like, okay, all of those 1-rep maxes that you have written down in your book or your phone, they are no longer. We are no longer going off those. We're going to build slowly. And we'll see where we get to. Exactly. There's no rush.
Yeah.
Really, none of us are going to the Olympics.
You're being realistic.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're a very mature gym in that there's not very many people under the age of 35 at our gym. So we are a mature demographic. So yeah, let's be honest. Most of us are not going to the Olympics or even striving to go to the Olympics. Most of us just want to be fit, healthy, and represent or live the life that we are trying to get our children to embrace.
Yeah. It's like we're out here as an example.
Yeah.
Right? If we're doing it, how much more likely are our kids going to follow suit?
That's right.
Right? And I see how much of that honesty and being realistic, people appreciate that they respect that a lot. And when you are able to let them know that the timeline associated with it, I love how you mentioned how it's like, hey, it's 40 weeks. You can do this.
Yeah.
How quickly does 40 weeks go by? It's not forever.
Right.
It's a program we have to follow through. And then once we're done that, we accomplish something. And now here's what's next.
Yep.
And even letting people know, I noticed clients get excited at the thought of, okay, if we're doing this now, then what is it progressing towards?
Right.
What's
a goal.
next? Right. And I see how with everything you're doing from a group perspective, I find naturally people just get more motivated.
They do.
When they know that,
There's
hey,
energy,
so-and-so is showing up and
Yeah.
they're going to text me why I didn't show up today, right?
Absolutely.
And I know you have a huge love for team group training, right,
I do.
Shelley?
I do.
And I just want to know, there's no right answer, but what have been some of the things you've seen as a coach that helps fitness enthusiasts become better at let's just say the fitness routines, or just actually become more motivated to show up when it's in a group capacity compared to just like the one-on-one coaching, and why you're a big believer in team coaching.
Yeah, and I think there's a place for both those things for sure. Importance on, if you are personally striving to achieve something that would require a one-on-one type personal trainer, definitely there's a place for that. I think there's a misconception in our society about what group training is. I think a lot of people, when you say you do group classes, they automatically assume, the old school Jane Fonda aerobics routines where everybody's doing the same thing at the same time, right? I think there's a misconception maybe of what group training is. For us at Little Sweatshop, what we really try to focus on, one, is the fun factor. Right? If you don't make training fun, what is the point?
Yeah, why bother showing up?
Especially when you start getting older, because not as many things are fun when you're older, right? So if you can make it fun, I try to make the workouts that we do very challenging. We are very unique in our programming. Like I don't just take workouts off the internet and be like, okay, slap that in there. That looks good, right? Like
I'm glad. That's awesome to hear.
It takes me a long time to program workouts, but I love it. It is one of my favorite parts of my job, is sitting there and, looking at the month of October or November or December and being like, okay, so we're going to do a squat program this month. We're going to work on really building up that squat this month. But then on top of that, we're going to throw in workouts that will challenge you, get your metabolism going. And more than anything, something that at the end of it, you feel accomplished. You feel like, holy cow, that sucked so bad, but I'm so glad I came.
Yeah, there's a theme associated to it. I think that's what makes it exciting, right? It's like nowadays we live in a world where everyone wants to know what they're about to lead themselves into, right? Like that movie that the people are raving about. Oh, well, is it good? Let's watch the trailer, right?
Yeah.
And then even as a coach, I could tell like it's so important to be organized and do that all ahead of the game. Yeah. Instead, I mean, I've experienced it in my first couple months as I was training people. It was like you're scrambling and you think you got your feet and you're like, oh, I did set that hour to program and now I'm just going to go off the fly. And you can only do that so many times where either the clients are going to take notice or now you're just repeating the same thing over and over again.
For sure. And I think sometimes another misconception maybe that comes from group training is people are like, well, how can you program a workout that'll work for 20 different people?
Yeah.
But and none of them will get hurt, or maybe some of them aren't able to do certain movements or whatever. And that comes from the coach, right? The coach, and all of our coaches are so incredible. Our team is the very, very, very best team ever. I bring in a physio every month, and he works with us and gives us kind of groundwork for helping with injury prevention
Nice.
and modifications and stuff like that. So the coaches are so well versed. So if you come and say, hey, my left knee's really hurting today, and squats is on the board, and squats are what really hurt your knee, we have the ability to be like, okay, well, why don't we work on this today instead for you? So while everybody else is doing their squats, you're going to do this part, but then we'll do the workout together. And if it's still bothering you, then I'll give you this exercise instead of this one, right?
There's
and
alternatives.
I'll swap it out and make it so that nobody has an excuse to not be there.